Hello, 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 and welcome to Two Girls in a Pod. I'm Sharon.
I'm Christy.
Oh my goodness. Sounds like it's been a long week to me.
Yeah, it's been a long week.
It's this weather. It's really just, I'm telling you, I'm ready for spring, like really, really, really bad.
Been in the deep freeze for a bit.
And apparently this week isn't going to be any better.
No, actually, it's an improvement from what they were saying originally.
Oh yeah, that's true. We were going to be down at like something 30s, no
20s.
What?
Eh,
I am born and bred Coloradoan, but I am telling you, I am ready for some warm weather. Because you know what I've noticed, and I think a lot of people are noticing this, and I don't think people pay enough attention, is how the weather impacts our mood.
yeah, well, it does for us anyway, I know.
Can make people cranky and not as friendly and showing kindness.
It can.
That's a little segue into our topic today.
We're talking about the power of kindness.
A lot of people might be saying, well, kindness, yeah, everybody knows that. The thing is knowing kindness and practicing kindness are two different things.
And being aware of when we can practice a little more kindness, even in our responses.
I did this topic on New Vibe. I did my hour long, the chat on it. And one of the things is just realizing how sometimes we take for granted little things, or we don't pay attention to those things that are really relevant and important.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter whatever the political climate is. Some people are going to like it, some people aren't going to like it, blah, blah, blah. Same crap, different every 4 years that we have or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the same in probably every nation, is that when you have, there's just changes and, people and change comes. But it always amazes me when these changes come when we do not practice acts of kindness.
Mm-hmm. I think that kindness, when we actually do put it into practice, we're actually slowing our mind down and being present with somebody. And yes, there are things that will happen that we don't agree with but there are people being impacted by the many changes that happen. And I think just having some consideration for the other person and what they're going through with the changes it's important.
That's like the big one. But I mean, it can be everything from somebody liking a show, not liking a show, liking a UFC fighter, not liking him. I follow UFC, so I read comments on there like, oh my God, people, what is all this hate? Instead of, you know what? Thank you for fighting because you fought. I got something to do. But no, we don't do that. It can be that. It can be anything. Oh, you like this book? You don't like this book. I mean, it's this constant thing where we almost get to this place where it's almost more important for us to prove our rightness, if there's even such a thing. If you're not going to agree with me or like what I say, I'm just going to get more nasty and hateful. Guess what, people? That changes nobody.
No.
Nobody.
No power in that.
None. So stop wasting your time and energy. And the reason you're doing it is because you think you're doing something, that there's some action or going to be some reaction that's going to cause a change. It does not. It actually causes the opposite effect.
Mm-hmm. People dig in their heels even more when they feel like they're going to be told they're wrong about something.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter what it is. We get so caught up in this thing of my way is the right way, and therefore that gives me permission to be rude, hateful, unkind, whatever. But guess what? It doesn't.
Right. And it takes away from you as a person and even the message that you're trying to convey when you come at somebody and being adversarial. You're not showing that compassion for somebody or, and understand maybe you're not going to agree. That's okay. But, you can still show a degree of kindness in your responses and the way you treat people.
And I think that's the beauty of something. If you have a strong stance on something, I tell people having a conversation, inviting a conversation is what's going to help promote a change of thought. Coming in, guns blazing, you're not going to change anything. You change nothing. The only people who are listening to you are the ones who already align with you. But guess what? Those aren't the ones you want to align with you. You want to get your message out there. And once again, I don't care what it's on. It can be on, it's on any topic, and it can be something that's minute as, well, what's the best time in the morning? Well, it's really 9. Well, no, it's 10. Now, it doesn't matter. We will find every little thing to try to force or whatever it is we're doing out there. But guess what? It is getting in the way of your ability to get where you're going. And you might think to yourself, if I'm talking about politics, or I'm talking about this movie or this book or this, that has nothing to do. Yes, it does. Because in my inner world creates my outer world.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, the way in which the information is presented is huge.
Exactly. And if it's internally, if I'm having this strong internal emotion about it, I got to put that in check and say, okay, whoa, why is this such a big thing for me? What am I holding on to? Why am I letting it dictate to me, or why am I letting it come out and be not kind instead of how can I do that in a different way?
I think that a lot of times people are coming at someone with an opinion because of their compassion for a group of people or something. Sometimes that's why it's such an emotional response. But understanding that, like I say, it's how you present that information to the other person. If you really want them to see it from your perspective, even if they don't end up agreeing, you have to come at it with that calm. You cannot project all that emotion and expect to have any kind of positive result with other people.
And not only a positive result with other people, I think it really goes back to that internal thing too, because it creates an internal icky in you.
Yeah, it does. There's a lot of angst and that goes into that. And I know you feel like you're fighting for
I get
a
it.
cause or something that's right, and I understand that. But there's still a way to be kind and compassionate in presenting that.
I was seeing this conversation about all these budget cuts and all of that. And somebody made the comment to the person, well, that was overspending. That was this, that was that. And this is this person's job. And I'm there like, you may think but we have to come from the place of how would you feel if your boss came in and just told you, we no longer need you, and you have it's not like you were out job hunting to begin with. You're devastated now because you thought you were doing a valuable service, and now you're devastated by it. And then you go on to this thing of somebody sitting, all these people, well, you were overpaid. And first off, there's no compassion in that. It's like, oh man, I'm really sorry to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's still your belief system,
Right.
we're putting our belief in and we're projecting it onto other people in a way that, oh, well, I told you so, or kind of taking on that kind of attitude.
Yeah, for sure. Because even if you do agree with however things are being done, understand that these people are impacted by this, and just having some empathy goes a long way.
And you're not looking at a corporation. And I tell people, when you're looking at a corporation and people are saying about the corporation, the people who work for them are not the corporation. The corporation is your upper echelon and your stockholders. And they're not doing the work. They are not the line people. So people will get upset about that, but not understand what those people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing their job in earnest. They're doing what they think is important work, what they paid lots of money to go to college for. All of these things that come into play. And so when we can show that kindness, regardless of what your belief system is, then you simply say, I'm sorry to hear that. Because I don't think your belief system is that individual. It's a system. And we get a system confused with people.
Yeah.
And that's straight across the board. When we're talking in business, a system is not the people.
Yeah.
But we will be against a system, and then we throw all the people into it.
Take it out on the people.
It doesn't work that way. So in this time, when people are losing their jobs or people are afraid or whatever it is, even if it goes against your political, religious, this, that, or the other belief, or, whatever, to show human kindness has no label. It is not Democrat, it's not Republican, Independent, Tea Party, and all the other ones that are out there. It is not Christian, Muslim, Buddhism, or anything else, Hindu, none of that, or all the other ones out there. It is not black, white, pink, purple, brown. It's none of those things. Kindness is universal.
It's about humanity.
Yes, and it has none of those bounds. We are putting those things ahead of our kindness.
Mhm.
And above all, we have to care for other human beings. That is part of what we do because we are all connected in some way, shape, or form.
Mhm. We all make up the whole.
Exactly. And I think when we just realize that, and sometimes, people sit there and say, well, that's a lot of work or whatever. How hard is it to smile at somebody? And one of the gentlemen who jumped on the chat, he was talking about when he goes for a walk and stuff, and he was just having a really good day. So he didn't realize he was smiling, just happy, internally happy, just happy. It wasn't about other people around him. And as he's walking by, he said it was a park bench or something. The woman sitting there, and she made the comment, wow, that's a really big smile you have on today. He goes, it was like, whoa. So he turned around, he smiled at her, and she was nice smile. And he goes, at that moment, I was already internally happy, but now I'm there like, wow, look at my smile was noticed and it mattered to somebody. And then she was smiling. It's contagious.
Mhm.
Kindness is contagious.
Yeah. And it vibrates out, has an effect on people as you go. And like that, that's a perfect example of that. Now, who knows where that led for the rest of her day? Maybe she spread that joy even farther.
And sometimes when you get in there and you go into places where people are doing customer service and stuff, they've had a lot of people in a day, and sometimes there's a lot of not so nice people. Don't be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Be the one that says, hello, how are you? Hope you have a good day.
And believe me, I get it. A lot of times I'm calling and dealing with insurances and that. And usually the only time I have to call insurance is when something is not working right. So I have to do some self-talk before the representative even comes on the line, because I don't want to get on there and be all emotional about what I'm dealing with. I mean, this person has no idea. And I don't want to get on the phone and be like, you know what, you're not doing your job and blah, blah, blah. So I really do have to do some self-talk before I get on with them, especially because after you've sat there and waited for somebody to pick up the phone for 2 hours, So I get it.
And then you get hung up on.
Yeah, it's up to start out for usually the protocol, hour to 2 hour wait, and then you get hung up on and you have to call back.
Think about that. After that, it's really hard to have that kindness. And even sometimes when people call in, they're soliciting for stuff. Oh, she's there like before, not so much now, but she'll be there like, don't even talk to them. Don't even do. And I said, some of them get paid according to with people at if there's different matrices. And I said, I can still say no, but I can give them their opportunity to do their spiel so they get their pay. I understand those intricate things. See her already rolling her eyes. Go, oh my goodness.
You're not gonna have to worry about that anyway, because everybody that's calling you is a robo. So it's not even a real person, probably.
This is how we justify not being kind.
She wants to be kind to the computer.
You get so much into this that sometimes you actually, if you really practice this and stuff, and so it's always, well, thank you for your time or whatever, even when it's, oh, thank you for your time, and then you hang up and realize, oh my God, I was talking to a computer. That's when you're real good at it. No, and I get it. And even like, it's really interesting. This is a good one because that creates a feeling in you, because our insurance is how we get in the therapy world, we get credentialed with different insurances, and then that's how we get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have a glitch in their system, or if right now we're converging TRICARE and TriWest. And so it's a huge process.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it's huge.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of practice to remember to be kind, and to remember that, people are doing the best that they can. And that's what you have to kind of tell yourself. And otherwise, first off, if you don't, and when you start letting these things affect you, it is doing something internally to you physically.
Mm-hmm. Because even after you get off the phone, it's still going to be inside you, and it can ruin your whole day if you let it, but it doesn't have to do that.
It doesn't let it anymore, people. No, but it was a practice, because it's that constant theme, and one of the things I really do my best at is being kind to people.
Mhm.
You know, it is rare that I don't do that. And it's because in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, I don't know their story. I don't know what that's about. And once again, it always takes me back to my friend who worked at a store and she was the manager. And finally, all the associates and even the customers were going to her and saying, hey, look, that mom needs to control her 2 kids. They're acting out. They are being just just unruly. I mean, and they were being loud and a little obnoxious and touching things and doing all this and that. So of course they go to her and she goes, okay. So now, you know, there's enough people who've come to her. So she's a little elevated in this. Now I've had 17 complaints, you know, in a matter of 5 minutes, and people are not liking it. Customers aren't, employees aren't. So she goes up to this woman and she says, ma'am, you really need to get control of your kids, or maybe you need to go shop somewhere else or do another day. And the woman looked at her and goes, I am so sorry. She said, we just lost my husband, their father, and we were just picking up some last minute things before we have to go do stuff. She goes, I now understand people have a story. And she goes, I don't know what it is. So from that moment on, it taught her a different kind of kindness and compassion for those people coming in. We don't know somebody's story.
Mhm.
We don't know where they're coming from, but we are so caught up in where I'm coming from that we're missing the bigger piece of that equation is listen.
Mhm.
There's a story. And understand this. It doesn't mean that we get to let people be jerks with us. It's a simple, you know what? Okay, that's how you feel. And you walk away. You don't take that feeling with you. You don't take that energy with you.
Yeah, no, because the more you argue the point, the more you become enraged, and it doesn't.
Well, and you just let them just sap that happy right out of you.
Yeah.
You let them sap any of that positivity right out of you. Now, instead, that their energy was already here and you guys were kind of equal, except you had the positive energy, say that person had negative energy. As soon as you engage and that energy is stronger, your energy goes down and theirs actually goes up.
Mhm.
So you're putting out a different vibration.
And then you walk away from that conversation, and what do you have to give going forward in your day to anybody else that you encounter?
Yeah, usually snarly looks and
Mhm.
and that's the whole thing. Kindness costs you nothing.
Right.
Kindness is contagious. Just as negative energy is contagious, kindness is contagious on a very different higher frequency. And to be able to show that kindness is not just about the other person, it is about you.
Exactly. And you never know. I mean, I had a example not too long ago where I went into the store and I was holding the door open for this woman, and she was really struggling. She had a cane and she was carrying a box or something for her items. She was struggling to get in, so I held the door for her, and after she got in there, she was so kind and she was like, "You know what? I want to buy the items that I had." She says, "I wanna pay for that." And I'm like, "No, that's okay." She's like, "No, you." She's like, "There are so many that wouldn't stop and do that, and you were kind enough to hold the door for me." So I mean, that you never know when somebody's gonna pay it forward in that way, and I thought that was really cool. It really touched my heart.
You know, what's really interesting is we really talk a lot about that, of the thing of paying it forward.
Mhm.
And I think that it doesn't take that much to show that kindness. And the simple thank you, which he'd already thanked you, was good enough for you.
Right.
But when we get there, you know, and she always cracks up because I've gone to my Facebook. If it ain't feel good, I scroll by it. I'm really limiting negativity and stuff like that in my life. But I follow this one guy and he feeds the homeless. Well, he's getting really popular. So now when he goes, these businesses are saying, no, let me contribute too. Let me be a part of this. They get to pay it forward too.
Mhm.
And those are the things. One act of kindness can grow into many acts of kindness.
Yeah.
And what I said about kindness is that internal thing. Think about this. When you're kind to somebody, it has a really cool feel.
Yeah.
But think about when that person is kind to you. It has a different good feel. They feel different. They do not feel the same because one is a giving and one is a receiving act. And so there's a difference in those two ideas and the way in which it's received.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times a lot of people have a hard time receiving. So you have to understand that in that receiving, the joy and gratitude that you display from that brings even so much more to the person that's doing the giving.
100%. It's such an interesting feel. And for anybody who's listening, pay attention to it. Pay attention to when you show kindness. Pay attention to when you receive that kindness.
Yeah.
It feels so good. You will start doing it more and more and more. And then when you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm really going to dig my little heels in and I'm going to fight this because this is a good cause. Remind yourself that it's still through kindness that people are going to learn.
Yeah.
Think about little kids. Do they really learn when they're being yelled at and stuff? No more than we do. People start yelling, and once again, we go to the limbic system of our brain, which is the fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
So once we're in the limbic system, people, we are not learning.
Yeah.
We are not learning. So everybody out there who's trying to push their belief system, whatever that is, from any, like I said, from food to book to politics, religion, whatever it is, when you're so busy trying to push that and you're elevating and you're being ugly and that and giving your message, the other person has already gone to the limbic system of the brain and there's no growth. There is no hearing. There is no gaining of knowledge.
Yeah. They've already shut you out.
Mm-hmm. And it's either through yelling back at you or they just totally disengage and they've shut off the communication.
Yeah.
And if that is really important to you, and if it's important for you to be heard, then speak in a tone and using words that are going to be heard. And if you feel like you're out there and you know who you are, and if you're on social media and you think, oh, this is my time where I can say all the mean, nasty things or whatever, remember that that is a reflection of you. That's going to go back into you.
Mm-hmm.
These things go back into us.
Yeah.
And guess what? It is not helping us to live longer, healthier, happier lives. I promise you it is not.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes something as simple as being kind and staying in that place can actually elevate your mood, can actually elevate your desire to do more, to be healthy. So that is how important it is to be kind.
Yeah. Because it's every bit about you. I mean, it's about the other person, but it's also what it brings into your life.
Exactly. And when we start to think of it that way, if we start to think about it, and even think about when anytime you're doing those things, pay attention to what's happening internally to you. Internally, you are having a physiological reaction at that gut level. And that's when it's not good for us.
Right.
So, and it's little thing, you know what I mean? It's like people who put out the candy dishes so people have something, it's like, oh, wow, there's candy. This is great. And in something simple, little acts of kindness are important.
Mm-hmm. People don't think of those kinds of things as like those acts of kindness, I guess. Like, I mean, even when we, before COVID and everything, when we were in the office full time, we always had coffee for people coming in. And that was something that people really appreciated. And I don't know how many people really gave that thought, but
the coffee drinkers loved it. They were very grateful.
It was something that the group of us all put into to provide that for people.
And if they didn't drink coffee, we had hot tea. And, on those cold days, people really appreciated that.
Yeah.
We would hear feedback about that. It wasn't that big of a deal for us, but it was a big deal for them.
Yeah.
How do we make spaces inviting for people? Those kind of things are important. How are we listening or paying attention? It's following up. It was interesting during my talk, somebody had private messaged me and said about the fact that it may not be your favorite person or whatever, but, always remembering if they're going through something. So she follows up on that. How are you doing after this or whatever? That's an act of kindness because it's not about my feeling. It's about what should I really be doing in these situations? So being able to identify that that's an important aspect, and it is. Whether we like or don't like somebody does not mean we cannot show kindness.
Right.
because our like or dislike. No, if it's somebody for various reasons, you just don't, those are people you're not going to associate with anyways, but you're not going to be mean. So the thing is if you can't show kindness, do nothing.
Right.
This is the thing people don't understand. If you don't have the capacity at this moment to show kindness to somebody else in whatever those arenas are, then do nothing.
Right. Respect them by walking away.
Yeah.
Because it's not about having an argument.
If you cannot converse and have those conversations, then do nothing.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. Save that for some other time or whatever when you feel like you're in a better place. All of those things are so important.
Mm-hmm.
We're giving up too much of ourselves for these external things that are going on. And I tell people at the end of the day, your jobs come and go. They do.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how much you nurture your job, sometimes they come and go. Finances, whatever.
What was the thing we had just read not that long ago about with your job? If you passed away, your job would be reposted before your obituary would be.
Exactly. Because that's how it is. So we forget these things.
Yeah.
These things are so external to us. But the relationships we build, and there's even studies that are now saying your socialization and your relationships are part of what's that formula for living longer, healthier lives.
Exactly.
Think about that. And nowhere in any of this research does it say, it's your job.
Right.
Unless you love your job. If you love your job, then guess what? That's even a better thing. I've always said it and I continue. I am so grateful that I love what I do and I do what I love.
Yeah.
That's where my energy is a lot of the time. But the thing is that there are too many people who are not doing what they love and they're putting a lot of energy and time into those things. And I'm not just talking about jobs. I'm talking about anything that is that toxicity that is there that we are not paying attention to.
And if that's the environment that you're immersed in, maybe you got to look at that to see, is that impacting your ability to be kind? You have the power to be kind even in those situations. But if you are so absorbed in those places and you're so unhappy, I think you're going to struggle more to show that compassion and kindness and empathy.
Exactly. You have those work environments where they'll do the lip service. They'll say stuff like, oh, we appreciate you. You're doing a great job. Oh, but we're going to raise the bar now. So you always feel like you're chasing that bar. So it's kind of like it negates that compliment you just got. And then there are some companies out there, people who are doing an amazing job at that. The communication is wonderful. There's a lot of those companies out there too. Those are the ones that I would tend to gravitate to if I had to work at a company.
Mm-hmm.
And I think more and more people are looking at these things but if you're in those environments, those work environments where it's negative and stuff, then you better be the light. Because if you're not, you're going to become part of the darkness.
Right.
And that darkness will carry over to all aspects of your life.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Because it takes a lot of practice to be able to separate out those two things.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an energy and you have to learn that that's not mine and stuff like that. But if you take that thing and you be kind, and one of the things I always did whenever I worked at companies, I would always make sure I stopped and talked to everybody. If it was the janitor coming through, we had a little joke. I'd always tell him, ooh, another $1.25 an hour today, huh? Extra or stuff like that. And we would crack up laughing. But I always made a point of stopping, asking them how they were doing.
Right.
And I would do it with all of our support staff and everybody else. And it's important. Those people are important. People are important in the jobs they do, regardless how meaningless you might think they are or how meaningful. Everybody who works in these systems is doing a job, and they work only because of everybody in that system.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So we have to remember that. So once again, if you're trying to get people to see your point of view, getting rid of all the ugly words and really talking about why it's important to you.
Mm-hmm. It'd be way more affected.
And sitting there in sync, and you have to say to yourself, and you have to ask yourself this question as well: why is this important to me? And you need to do that deep dive Why is this important to me? Because you're going to find sometimes you were fighting for something and then you take that deep dive and you're there like, where the heck did this even come from? That's part of that personal growth and journey. That's part of the thing, when we're doing our coaching, identifying those things that are blocking us. What are those thought processes or beliefs or ideas or whatever they are that are truly getting in the way of why I am not reaching that pinnacle that I know I can reach?
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's these things. So once again, kindness costs you nothing. And guess what? It takes almost less energy to be kind than it is to generate the emotion around the negative energies.
Well, it absolutely feels better.
Really, they're little things. Paying it forward. Hello, it's not big things. And if you can, if you're more fortunate than somebody else, whether it's homelessness or whatever, it doesn't matter.
It's kind of like
Show
when,
kindness.
yeah, when we used to go through like the drive-through at Starbucks, which we don't do anymore. Sometimes we would pay for the person behind us, or somebody would have paid for ours. And I mean, when you can do those kinds of things, it's uplifting. It feels nice. And
One of the things that is part of my practice, and since I've been able to have private practices, every year I always do one pro bono. In this last year, the kiddo lost his insurance, and that's always rough for me because I understand it's outside of their control. So anyway, he's a young one. He lost his insurance, and so talked with Christine. I said he's on the autism spectrum. I said, he thinks this is our last session. I says, I can't do it. I said, he's made such progress. He's so invested. And so when we got on and I'm talking to him and he was there, he was already sad. He goes, Miss Sharon, he goes, I'm just very sad today. He goes, because I don't get to see you and talk to you. And I'm going to miss that and that. And I said, well, I told him, I said, honey, you don't have to worry about that. And I said, because I'm going to do what's called pro bono. Well, he didn't know what that meant. Well, grandma's in with him. Well, now she's now crying. So now he thinks it's something bad because he doesn't understand what pro bono means. And so he's there like, oh, grandma, now he's all upset now. And I said, no, baby. And then I didn't even get a chance to finish. She goes, no, that means she's going to see us, but she's not going to charge us anything. And he stops and he goes, you can do that? I said, yes, I can do that. And so he got really emotional, and he goes, and he was so happy about, and when you talk about that receiving piece, that to me, that receiving piece, because his emotion and him being able to articulate that demonstrated how far he has come. It demonstrated how much further he wants to go in his investment. And the gratitude I have for being a part of that journey. And in that moment, all that emotion of gratitude, and that was overwhelming. And those are the moments. And we can all have those moments. Every one of us can have those moments. If we sit and we think, what can I do? What do I have the ability to do to help people, to be kind to people? One of the things is my mom she was on the train in Amtrak. She was going to Las Vegas to see my sister. And so she's in her seat and this lady comes by and starts making racial comments to her and just not being nice. And my mom didn't say anything. My mom's she was very quiet. She wasn't one just going to argue with people. She just didn't do that. And she just sat there, and the guy who gets the tickets, I don't know, the ticket guy, she didn't realize he was listening somewhere. She never saw him. Anyway, he came up and he tells her, he goes, ma'am, you know what? Come with me. And so my mom at first thought she was in trouble. And he goes, I actually have a much better seat for you that's going to be a little more convenient for you to everywhere you need to be on this train. So please come with me as an upgrade for you. And I'm so grateful for that because I love my mom. But let me tell you something. My mom was a kind woman. I had two very kind parents.
Yeah.
And that show of kindness not only impacted her, But when she told us it impacted us. So kindness has a ripple effect.
Definitely.
When you came home and told me about the woman who paid for our stuff, that had a ripple effect. 'Cause I was there like, oh my God, how wonderful that there are still people in this world that are doing these things.
Yeah. So,
Kindness, it costs nothing.
yeah. But it's uplifting, so uplifting to us and to
But
the
the
other.
benefit, it's the benefit of kindness.
Yeah.
If you sit there and you think about it, the benefit of kindness is it, we can't even measure it. Sometimes it saves a life. There is no price on a life,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes those little random acts of kindness that we do to people, we don't know the impact that they have and how sometimes it saves people when they're in their darkest moments.
Right.
Think about that. Think about that power. And it took nothing other than to acknowledge that somebody exists.
Right.
So kindness, kindness, kindness. That's what we say.
Mm-hmm.
So today what we're going to do is we're going to end with a few quotes from some different people from some different times.
I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. When we give cheerfully and accept gratefully, everyone is blessed. It takes courage to be kind. Those were by Maya Angelou. And a warm smile is the universal language of kindness. William Arthur Ward. You can always, always give up something, even if it is only kindness. That's Anne Frank. And kindness is the only service that will stand the storm of life and not wash out. Abraham Lincoln.
Isn't that amazing? This is people from different time periods. And it goes way beyond that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And one last one, kindness is the language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see, by Mark Twain.
One of the things I think that's really fascinating about all of this is that it doesn't matter the time, the era, the person, it's being able to identify the importance of kindness.
Absolutely. And from the Buddhist teachings, be the reason someone feels welcomed, seen, heard, valued, loved, and supported.
That right there is why kindness is important and why it feels good when you receive it and why it feels good when you give it.
Yeah.
So take that moment as you're out and about or whatever with your children, your spouses, your family, friends, and all those strangers that we encounter. Just decide, I'm going to be kind to one person today.
Yeah.
Actually, you're going to be kind to two because your first kindness is going to be to yourself.
Yes.
Start internally. Be kind to yourself. Every day, make a kind statement to yourself. That's where it starts. Remember, our internal creates our external.
For sure.
And as always, you can find us
At twogirlsinapod.com. You can subscribe and you can also comment and you can like, and we appreciate it if you do. We're also on Instagram and Facebook, Two Girls in a Pod Life's Journey, and on YouTube. Check out our YouTube channel, Adventures of Two Girls in a Pod Life's Journey. And we've got a couple new things on there.
Yeah, and also check out on Amazon, Grateful Beginnings, Gratitude. Gratitude is how we show kindness as well.
Mhm.
And when we start to practice gratitude, gratitude is a kindness, an internal kindness and an external kindness. And that's another really easy way and a fast way to start your day with gratitude statements, because that's setting the stage for that thing of giving and receiving. You know,
Yes, and the Grateful Beginnings coloring book is a great way to start that out with kids.
yeah, and you can find that on Amazon under Sharon Veda and Christy Banta. So taking that time, doing those things is always really, really important. It doesn't take a whole lot. The other thing is if you have a moment where you had that, where somebody was extremely kind to you, or you had that moment of kindness that really impacted you, send us a little note on it. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear those acts of kindness that you've either shown to others or somebody has shown to you. So take those times. We love all, those likes, comments are all super important. This is, when we talk about this, we got to do what we got to do, people. And part of that is the more you like and comment and stuff like that, we have this algorithm and the search optimization.
Yeah.
Oh, go.
Yes. So interactions, we appreciate all of them. If you have feedback that you'd like to leave, you can do that through the social media or the webpage for twogirlsatapod.com.
Or on any of your platforms that you listen.
Yes, anywhere you get your podcasts, we're there.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much. And go out there, be kind. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. And let's elevate this frequency.
Yes.
Anyway, we will be back next week. And thank you so much.
Thank you.